In 1957, a little short story called The Fly, written by George Langeland, would first be published in Playboy magazine and quickly grab the attention of 20th Century Fox. And in no time, they would adapt it for the big screen in a motion picture and release it 1 year later. And it would go on to scare audiences and become a beloved horror classic. Right now, I'm about to explore the short story that takes the idea of an ordinary insect and make it far beyond anything your mind could ever conceive. What's that sound? Listen. Do you hear it? It's getting closer. Really, really closer. Oh no. There it is. It's coming. I am so excited to be reading The Fly short story, something I've been wanting to do for a while now. And I want to let you know ahead of time that during the story, it'll be difficult for me to pronounce words here and there, so I will do the best I can. Without further ado, here is The Fly short story. The Fly by George Langeland. Chapter 1. Telephones and telephone bells have always made me uneasy. Years ago, when they were mostly wall fixtures, I disliked them. But nowadays, when they are planted in every nook and corner, they are a downright intrusion. We have a saying in France that a coalman is master in his own house. With the telephone, that is no longer true. And I suspect that even the Englishman is no longer king in his own castle. At the office, the sudden ringing of the telephone annoys me. It means that no matter what I am doing, in spite of the switchboard operator, in spite of my secretary, in spite of doors and walls, some unknown person is coming into the room and onto my desk to talk right into my very ear confidentially, whether I like it or not. At home, the feeling is still more disagreeable, but the worst is when the telephone rings in the dead of night. If anyone could see me turn on the light and get up blinking to answer it, I suppose I would look like any other sleepy man annoyed at being disturbed. The truth in such a case, however, is that I am struggling against panic, fighting down a feeling that a stranger has broken into the house and is in my bedroom. By the time I manage to grab the receiver and say, "I see Monsieur Delambre, je vous écoute," I am outwardly calm, but I only get back to a more normal state when I recognize the voice at the other end and when I know what is wanted of me. The effort of dominating a purely animal reaction in fear had become so effective that when my sister-in-law called me at 2 a.m. asking me to come over, but first to warn the police that she had just killed my brother, I quietly asked her how and why she had killed Andre. "But Francois, I can't explain all that over the telephone. Please call the police and come quickly. Maybe I had better see you first, Helene." "No, you better call the police first. Otherwise they will start asking you all sorts of awkward questions. They'll have enough trouble as it is to believe that I did it alone. And by the way, I suppose you ought to tell them that Andre's body is down at the factory. They may want to go there first. Did you say that Andre is at the factory? Yes, under the steam hammer. Under the what? The steam hammer. But don't ask so many questions. Please come quickly. Francois, please understand that I'm afraid that my nerves won't stand it much longer. Have you ever tried to explain to a sleepy police officer that your sister-in-law has just phoned to say that she has killed your brother with a steam hammer? I repeated my explanation, but he would not let me. Que monsieur, que I bear, but who are you? What is your name? Where do you live? I said, where do you live? It was then that Commissary Shiraz took over the line and the whole business. He at least seemed to understand everything. Would I wait for him? Yes, he would pick me up and take me over to my brother's house. When? In 5 or 10 minutes. I had just managed to pull on my trousers, wriggle into a sweater, and grab a hat and coat when a black Citroën, headlights blazing, pulled up at the door. I assume you have a night watchman at your factory, Monsieur de Lambre. Has he called you? Asked Commissary Shiraz, letting in the clutch as I sat down beside him and slammed the door of the car. No, he hasn't, though of course my brother could have entered the factory through his laboratory, where he often works late at night, all night sometimes. Is Professor Delambre's work connected with your business? No, my brother is or was doing research for the Ministry del Air, as he wanted to be away from Paris and yet within reach of where skilled workmen could fix up or make gadgets big and small for his experiments. I offered him one of the old workshops of the factory, and he came to live in the first house built by our grandfather on the top of the hill at the back of the factory. Yes, I see. Did he talk about his work? What sort of research work? He rarely talked about it, you know. I suppose the Air Ministry could tell you. I only know that he was about to carry out a number of experiments he had been preparing for some months. Something to do with the disintegration of matter, he told me. Barely slowing down, the commissary swung the car off the road, slid it through the open factory gate, and pulled up sharp by a policeman apparently expecting him. I did not need to hear the policeman's confirmation. I knew now that my brother was dead. It seemed that I had been told years ago, shaking like a leaf. I scrambled out after the commissary. Another policeman stepped out of a doorway and led us towards one of the shops where all the lights had been turned on. More policemen were standing by the hammer, watching two men setting up a camera. It was tilted downwards, and I made an effort to look. It was far less horrid than I had expected, though I had never seen my brother drunk. He looked just as if he were sleeping off a terrific binge, flat on his stomach across the narrow line, which the white-hot slabs of metal were rolled up to the hammer. I saw at a glance that his head and arm could only be a flattened mess, but that seemed quite impossible. It looked as if he had somehow pushed his head and arms right into the metallic mass of the hammer. Having talked to his colleagues, the commissary turned towards me. How can we raise the hammer, Monsieur de Lambre? Monsieur? I'll raise it for you. Would you like us to get one of your men over? No, I'll be all right. Look, here is the switchboard. It was originally a steam hammer, but everything is worked electrically here now. Look, commissary, the hammer has been set at 50 tons, and its impact at 0. At 0? Yes, level with the ground if you prefer. It is also set for single strokes, which means that it has to be raised after each blow. I don't know what Helene, my sister-in-law, will have to say about all this, but one thing I am sure of, She certainly did not know how to set and operate the hammer. Perhaps it was set that way last night when work stopped? Certainly not. The drop is never set at 0, Monsieur le Commissaire. I see. Can it be raised gently? No, the speed of the upstroke cannot be regulated, but in any case, it is not very fast when the hammer is set for single strokes. Right. Will you show me what to do? It won't be very nice to watch, you know. No, Monsieur le Commissaire. I'll be all right. All set? Asked the commissary of the others. All right then, Monsieur Delambre, whenever you like. Watching my brother's back, I slowly but firmly pushed the upstroke button. The unusual silence of the factory was broken by the sigh of compressed air rushing into the cylinders, a sigh that always makes me think of a giant taking a deep breath before sullenly socking another giant. And the still mass of the hammer shuddered and then rose swiftly. I also heard the sucking sound as it left the metal base, and thought I was going to panic when I saw Andre's body heave forward as a sickly gush of blood poured all over the ghastly mess bared by the hammer. No danger of it coming down again, Monsieur Delambre? No, none whatever, I mumbled as I threw the safety switch, and turning around, I was violently sick in front of a young green-faced policeman. End of Chapter 1. Chapter 2, coming right up.